Suppose we've got to do this. Got to get it done. Welcome to Top Table Talk. The panel is in place. And look, we always do. We always discuss the fixtures from the previous weekend, whether we want to or whether we don't. But yeah, what I will say is that the shades are firmly in the draw and away this week. But we've got the boys on the panel. Daz, Chris, how are you, fellas?
All good, Pete. Yeah, we had our therapy session last night, and in the reaction show, 2 hours of therapy. I thought we'd get 10 minutes of that show, but no, 2 hours. But there's a lot of good talking points actually. But all good. Back in the office again tomorrow. Work from home today. But how are you, Chris?
Yeah, similar to you, Daz. Similar to you, mate. I am working from home was working from home today. I'm back in the office tomorrow. But yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I think we needed that therapy session yesterday. And you're right, it was a really good show. And we got asked some really good questions. Some of them were tough, and some of them were quite out there. But all stuff that's relevant, and obviously everyone's opinion matters, doesn't it? And I think it was good that we kind of thrashed it all out. And I think now we just need to put West Ham behind us. I know we're probably going to go there shortly, but you know, we need to try and look forwards and keep positive for Palace away. But obviously great to be joined by Charlie and Adam tonight, and I'm sure Adam will be in a really good mood, as will Charlie. So you know, it'll be interesting to talk other stuff than Newcastle as well. So no, looking forward to the show.
Definitely, and great to have Adam in and Charlie. The winner's circle down the bottom there. Fair play to you boys. You guys are on an absolute great run, and look, we might as well start with that before Wolfie comes in and starts the charge.
Whatever he starts,
yeah, whatever it is. So we might as well start with that. And Ads, I know you're short on time tonight, so we'll start with you. Away at Bournemouth, not an easy place to go. Man City lost there. We managed to sneak a point there. Other teams
won.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
No, yeah, well, okay. So the winner's circle have both done the job at the Vitality, but another impressive win to take you right in the mix. We were just talking about it before we came on air, a point away from second place. How are you feeling right now as a Brighton fan? Massive win at the weekend.
Pretty good. Yeah, we are historically, we've been shocking away at Bournemouth. Absolutely shocking. Hate going there. And this was a weird one as well, because it wasn't like we dominated the game. It was sort of similar to the game we played against you lot, where it almost felt like we probably shouldn't have necessarily run away with it. And we did. 2 goals of outstanding quality. If you saw them, the first goal, the interplay between the players was incredible. João Pedro being back just makes such a ton of difference. And then the second goal, again, João Pedro's pass to Matoma through the lines was just world class. I'd be shocked if we're able to keep him for another 1 to 2 years. I really would be. I think he's going to be. It'll be the next one to leave for big money. But no, we're impressive. And considering Carlos Baleba got sent off for no reason, just because the ref decided, you know, why not? And we were down for 10 men for a good half an hour at that point. The fact that we still managed to do it is great. And it's weird, right? We talked before about this run of games that we're about to go on, because we had the hard games. We had the hardest games in the league up until the last couple. We're now at home to Southampton on Friday. So being Brighton, we will get battered by Southampton at home. There is no other way that this will turn up. But if we actually do what we should do and get 3 points here, people aren't favouring Man City to actually. I think this is the first time Man City aren't favoured to win a game in a long time coming up here. So there's a chance we could weirdly be ending up at second by the end of the week, which is, I don't know. I don't know what bizarro world we're in, but it's good to be there.
Definitely. And look, you're really kind of kicking into gear now and looking confident sort of every game that you're going into. Look, we're going to be having these conversations up and down over the course of the season, but you're right in the mix for top four. You're in the conversation and next to the man next year, the likes of Chelsea that are up there fighting. You think you can sustain this over the course of the season? It seems like you got the squad. You got a lot of good players. You really built that squad up over the summer. You think you can sustain what you're doing at the moment over the course of a full season?
I don't think we're not a top four side, but my expectations have definitely gone up in terms of where they were at the start of the season. At the start of the season, my hope was, look, if we can get top 10, that's great. It's a really competitive league. We all know that. Top 10 is still an achievement. Yeah. But my expectations are higher now. Like I think Brighton fans would be disappointed on the current form, if we weren't messing around in those European positions. You talk about squad depth. That is the difference this year. We completely ran out of steam last year. This year, we've got no additional competitions to have to worry about, especially after we crashed out some other ones. But the fact that, look, we haven't had Lewis Dunk, the captain, playing, right? We've sort of got a makeshift back line. Some of our best players have been injured. We've been out without our best player for a number of games. We're not even at full strength right now. We're about to loan Evan Ferguson out, Daz, as you've probably seen.
Saw that, yeah. That's what I was going to ask that question.
So yeah, this is the thing, is that he's gone down the pecking order, and I understand it in the sense that he's a incredibly promising player. He's so potent. It's just that classic number 9. Hertzler's system doesn't want a classic number 9. He wants the player that can drop back in and get involved in the interplay. That first goal, if the listeners haven't seen this, first goal against Bournemouth at the weekend is exactly what Hertzler wants to do with this team. We do not score that goal with Evan Ferguson on the pitch. It involved Danny Welbeck dropping deep, one-touch passing with João Pedro and Ruta. Those are the guys that he wants at the top of the pitch, as opposed to Evan Ferguson. So it's a shame for him, but I think a loan move would actually be excellent for everyone involved. So yeah, I mean, look, I think this next few run of games here is where our season's going to make or break. Southampton at home, Fulham away. Fulham obviously didn't have a particularly good result last weekend. We've got Leicester away, who currently don't have a manager.
They do now. It's Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
Is it just?
It's named manager. Just been announced. Wow. Set to be appointed the new manager. Expecting confirmation soon. That's from Sam Wallace, who's just reported out the last 5 minutes.
Good for them. Yeah, sure. That sounds interesting. So yeah, they sort of have a manager. And yeah, then we got, Palace, West Ham, Brentford. These are all games where we're completely capable of getting points. So yeah, I'm bullish about the team right now. We're looking good. But like I said, watch us lose to Southampton at home on Friday. It will just be classic Brighton. Classic.
Definitely. I'm not going to lie, boys. I'm now worried about that Leicester City bounce with Van Nistelrooy, and we have them next Saturday. So yeah, that will be very, very interesting. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Boys, I'll push it out to the panel. Brighton, impressive.
Yeah.
Can they sustain it? And the question that Adam doesn't want to answer is, how much does João Pedro go for?
I think a good season for Brighton is European football. Look, they're doing very well right now, but it is a huge ask to sustain that over a course of a season. But look, if they were able to get top 7 Conference League football, like, that would be a very, very good season. But you never know with how competitive the Premier League is right now. And what's going on? You can't rule them out. Maybe going into the Europa League. It's definitely a possibility. But I think there'll be a clearer picture, like sort of into January, as to how things might pan out of Brighton. But they added well in the summer. I've always maintained the best run club in the Premier League. The scouting is ridiculous. How they can just constantly replace player after player after player, and they find someone else who can just do as good a job as the previous players that left, and it doesn't seem to disrupt the team. We've seen teams lose their best players like every summer, and it massively affects them. Southampton, a classic example. Every summer they get picked off, and they eventually went down. That doesn't happen with Brighton because the infrastructure's there. They're signing quality players. They're really great to watch, and I think I think if they got European football this season, that would be fantastic for them. and they would deserve it because they're well run. They play a good brand of football. They've got exciting players, and yeah, I think for me, I can see them sort of finishing maybe 7th this year.
Charlie, you know what's crazy as well? Like, I look at us being on the same points right now.
Yeah, the 3 of us. Well,
and you smashed us.
Yeah, we
you absolutely smashed us.
We did, but you also partly helped us out a lot with your defending.
Yeah. It was. He learned from that. I think. I honestly think, in a weird way, that game was really good for Hertzler because he figured out how to actually go away and play proper games of football and not just go all out attack. And that's what we saw at Newcastle. That's what we saw at Bournemouth. I think it actually weirdly helped.
Yeah,
I find it crazy with Brighton. So just taking on going on from what Charlie was saying there about like not only the replacement players for when they sell them mainly to Chelsea, but also managers as well. It's always a step up as well as things are looking, and then sporting directors we know about as well. But yeah, no, it's just it is Brighton are on fire. I think anyone in that from top 3 down, even City as well. It's going to chop and change so many times. So you might be guys might be ahead now, but things can change as well, and it is still so bunched. Anything can happen. But they go back to the Evan Ferguson. I saw him linked in with Celtic or Rangers. Okay, that'll get his confidence up, all right, because he'd score goals, all bags of goals there. But would you think there'd be a loan to buy option? Because that I could look at that one.
I don't reckon they do that. I think they still believe in him. I mean, that would be my thought. And I reckon they still believe in him. They just want him to go and get minutes to develop. He's still only 20. He's had a lot of injury issues. He's a very, very big talent. And I don't think Brighton are the sort of club that would do like a loan to buy on someone. They want him to get him out there, get him some minutes, get him fit and firing again. I would imagine with a view to him coming back into the team. As he said, if João Pedro does leave in the summer, which Brighton fans will be hoping he doesn't, but there's a chance that teams could well look at him, then Evan Ferguson is someone that probably then suddenly becomes a lot more valuable to Brighton. Yeah,
it's interesting. I don't. Anyone's available for the right price. I know it's cliche to say that, but they are. I can see it being a Buonanotte situation where it's like we just get him out, get him playing well like he is at Leicester, get his confidence back, as you say, and then see what player you end up with. Worst case scenario, you've increased your value. I don't see them doing a loan to buy purely based on the fact that if they did it now, they're basically selling low on the guy. Like, here's a guy who's barely scored lately. He's been injured. Go and have him. Just give us whatever you've got. That's not how Bloom and everyone operates.
He was being touted for about 100 million the other summer because we've been interested in him in the past, and like the price reportedly was around like
they're all made up numbers though, Charlie. Yeah. They're all made up. But yeah, it's just but he's not at the peak of his powers if you think about it like that at the moment, right? It's not like he's banging in goals like he did right at the start of last season where he looked like he was going to become a world beater.
Then he scored against us, man.
Yeah, he scored a hat-trick, didn't he, against you boys?
Yeah, he did. We thought he was the next year then.
Just for that, Charlie.
He still might be. But yeah, he's not. He had the injury, didn't come back properly, was down on his luck, and I think this is just going to be build the confidence back up. But I do think he'd be a really good asset for someone further down the league that does play a little bit more of a traditional style of football. I really do think he'd be a good pickup.
There's a very good opportunity for someone in January. Very good opportunity.
Yeah. Do you know what, Azam? I was going to ask, and I suppose it's difficult for you to answer, and maybe you don't want to answer. But Charlie made a good point. The fact that Evan Ferguson was being touted for 100 million. I'm not suggesting that's what he would have gone for, but that was kind of the path that it was looking like. So it was a bit of a two-pronged question, really. I wanted to ask: do you think? If someone was to come in January and really try and chance Brighton's arm, how much do you think it would be in order to secure them on a permanent basis? Basis, because let's be honest, we do live in a PSR world, don't we? And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you sign him for something stupid like $1 million? So it is effectively nearly pure profit in terms of if you were to sell them. And obviously, if Hertzler isn't 100% keen on him, what figure do you think would capture him on a permanent basis, or do you think it's just out of the question? And my second question was going to be, I know you said about a team further down the league. What team now in the Premier League, if you think it will be the Premier League, unless you think it'll be abroad, do you think will be perfect for his development? Because I agree with what you're saying. If he goes to a team lower down, scores between now and the end of the season 12, 15 goals, all of a sudden, if he's on the market, Brighton can then go, well, look what he's done at that team. So we're now wanting this price rather than, the benchmark, which is what it might be now in January, given that it's a risk.
Yeah, it's interesting question. The price one is so hard to answer, because I think anything that we could possibly get at this point is going to be under what the expectations and hopes are that the club think he's going to be worth. Bloom also, I say Bloom, it's a bunch of the people there. It's Bloom, it's Barber, it's David Weir, it's a bunch of the folks that they don't like doing January business at the best of times. To sell a player like that's a future prospect in January, never come back, and you're selling them for undervalue. I really don't see it. It would have to be a big amount, and I'm talking 70 plus, in my opinion, for them to think about that. Teams he could go to, I think the obvious ones are teams, you think of sides like Everton, right? But the problem is they've already got Broja, where you think Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets injured quite a lot. If they didn't have Broja, he'd be a great fit there. I think Leicester's a name that's been thrown out. That'd be another player if they can even sign another one from us.
They think they can Premier League loans.
They've got one, right? They've already got one.
You're talking about Ferguson. They can't. One.
You can have two from the same team.
No, you can't.
Not Premier League to Premier League. I don't think you can. Not unless the rules are changed this year.
I think you can have more than one. I think you can have two.
You can have two loanees from the same league. One from the same club.
That must have changed recently then.
I don't think you've ever been able to loan two from the same club. I thought it was one loan.
Yeah, no, it's one, but two from the Premier League.
Okay.
You could have a Newcastle and Chelsea loan.
Yeah, so in that case, I don't know whether, because you look at some of the other sides down there, that I don't think it either wouldn't be a good fit, or they just wouldn't do business there, or they've got players that already
talking about
fit.
Ferguson.
Yeah.
He would fit in a Nuno system. That's the best one.
Mate, I was going to suggest Forest.
You're too busy bleeding 6 goals in 2 games. He's not going to get the ball up top, is he?
We're starting already. I don't even know what you're talking about. Just come in, man. Literally, my ears are still freezing from being on that pitch, right? You want to go straight in?
Speaking of, I've actually got to go, so this is perfect timing. I'll just leave it there.
Wait, Adam, before you go, did you ask them the question?
Oh, no, but you definitely should. And also, if Deji comes on, ask him the question, because wasn't it Ange out last week?
Yeah, Deji was Ange out.
Yeah, it's fully Ange out. Someone was defending Ange. I can't remember who it was, but yeah.
Adam, just to double check, these were all Eddie Howe in, yeah?
They were out. Then
we still are. No. Don't do that, Adam.
Mate, there's a little hokey cokey in out.
Yeah, it's a hokey cokey. It's a hokey cokey, isn't it?
That's all this coming from.
Yeah, you should. It's probably worth a 20-minute segue. Go and do that. Anyway, gents, pleasure. Thank you.
Take care, Adam.
Enjoy. Wolfie, always great to have an in-depth conversation with you.
What did I say to piss you off, mate? It's like that.
Oh man, he just stoked the fires.
Where's Lawless? Lawless
couldn't make it tonight. I've been speaking to him today.
You didn't invite him, did you? You didn't invite him.
No, I did invite him.
I'll fact check you, mate. I will fact check you.
No, please do. He was invited to this tonight, for sure. But look, we might as well get it out the way. Come on,
let's do it.
What have you got to say?
Let's do it. What happened, boys? What happened?
Oh, he's close.
That's a pause button.
It was a poor performance. It was terrible.
What happened?
But having said that, like with the way that the league's gone this season, like I didn't totally unexpect it. No. Like it was one of them things that, like, I know West Ham have been shocking, but it's with the way the season's going and teams beating each other and like anyone being able to beat anyone. I wasn't actually surprised to see West Ham win that game, just with how things have been going. But I think the biggest concern for me was you boys are struggling so much to score goals. Like, where are the goals? You got someone prolific in Alexander Isak. You've got Anthony Gordon, who's a good player. But I just look at it and I just think the Howe, I don't think, knows how to get the best out of the midfield, and there's no goals in the team. And then and then you're not defending that well either. So it's like sort of three big problems all over the pitch. And it's not a disaster or anything, but you're only 3 or 4 points off the top four or whatever it is. But there's things there I'm seeing, and I'm just thinking those things should have been sorted out. You know, you're 12 games into the season now, still not scoring goals, and the balance of the midfield. Like, I almost wouldn't be surprised at this rate if Tenai just decides he's had enough in the summer.
Charlie, do you know what, mate? You raise a really good point, and everything that you've said there is basically what we were talking about in our 2-hour show yesterday. And this is the thing. You look at the league table and you go, do you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world, and you're right in what you say. Let's not get this wrong. We all expected to beat West Ham, all of us. We all thought that we would do West Ham in, but after the game, you do have that element of, well, everyone's beaten everyone this season. The only team who were incredibly consistent so far this season is Liverpool. I mean, we've seen what City are going through. You know, obviously, you boys have picked yourselves up. I know you've got a couple of weird results. Wolfie will be getting there soon. Obviously, he's had a couple of tricky results recently, but it just feels like a little bit strange at the moment. But all those problems that you're referring to, you know, in terms of not scoring enough, not looking ourselves, the midfield being a little bit unbalanced, not having Sandro Tonali in the team, these are all real issues. And well, we didn't really come to a conclusion last night, did we, boys? We're just gonna try and, you know, muddle on and see, you know, whether Eddie can kind of sort something out in time.
The squad depth is a massive problem, because when you got the players that are starting that aren't playing well, there's no game changes on the bench. Jacob Murphy might be a nice lad. He's not good enough if you want to be having aspirations of getting into the Champions League. He's not He's not good enough. Willock, I like Joe Willock, and I think he has played well for Newcastle. There needs to be a position for him. I think he could play in midfield. I mean, he's surely got to be a better option on the right-hand side than Jacob Murphy. I'm not saying this is his ideal position, but you'd think he'd be a better option there. Why doesn't Harvey Barnes start games? Like, there's a lot of things there that I'm just looking at it and just think there's a lot of work to do. And I think
so soft on him, Charlie.
But I think the lack of investment in the summer is. I know whether you're hamstrung by PSR or whatever it was, the lack of investment in the summer. I think this start for Newcastle all stems from having a shocking summer window, and now it's just a knock-on effects of that.
What you're saying is what we were saying in August. We had to sign somebody. We had to sign players. We didn't. We're now in the hope that we go and sign in January. Like, all these, you have to freshen up your squad. You have to freshen up your squad. Sandro coming back from a 10-month ban and injuries now kind of getting shored up is not like a new signing. It's not, because those players are already established in the squad. You're absolutely right. We've only scored 5 goals at home all season in 6 games. That isn't good enough. It's not good enough. And, you know, considering we've got the second best defensive record in the Premier League. So it's not necessarily about conceding goals. We can't put them in the net, as you mentioned. And look, when you look at Newcastle United's team, when you've got Alexander Isak, when you've got Anthony Gordon, who scored 10 plus goals last season, when you've got Harvey Barnes, where you know he can score goals, but isn't starting. Like, you look at that team, Joe Linton can score goals. Like, there is enough goals in that team to be able to win us matches, but it's not happening. Partly because a lot of those that do score as regular goals, or have done in the season previous, are not natural goal scorers. We've only got really Alexander Isak that's a natural goal scorer. Like, Callum Wilson is a natural goal scorer, but we can't keep relying on Alexander Isak and Callum Wilson to bail us out all the time. You know, we went last season, I think everyone bar 1 or 2 players scored a goal in our squad last season, or all bar 1 or 2. And you know, this season we're just relying on 2 or 3. I think it's Harvey Barnes and Isak that are our top goal scorers at the moment. After that, you've got one here, one there. We're not scoring enough goals. It's a massive concern. You know, Gordon should have been putting that away. That Giltez chance in the first half. Isak, you could argue, could have put that chance away. If it had kept his line, would have had that goal that was ruled offside.
Are you creating chances? Are you creating?
We were, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a chance creation issue. It's more of is it a finishing issue, or is it a bit of both?
Do you know what? For me, we're looking dangerous in sections of the pitch, but when we get to that final phase, and I know it sounds cliche, we just don't seem to. There always seems to be the wrong decision, or we snap at it, or it's dragged wide, or there has been some really good chances, for us to put teams to bed, and we, like Pete mentioned, the Gordon chance. Willock has a chance yesterday where he should have done. Sorry, not yesterday, on Monday, where he should have done far better. It's just moments like that. And last season, the season before, we were putting them chances away, and we were scoring 2 or 3 goals every time we were at St James's Park. It was a case of how many are we going to score? How many are we going to put away tonight? Now you're almost going into it thinking, are we going to score? Because
Even Chris, it was West Ham. It was West Ham.
No, I
kid you not.
I
kid you not. They are the worst team, apart from Cooper's Leicester, that we played. They were so bad. And the fact you let Wan-Bissaka score, man, that's a sackable offence. I'm sorry, wasn't his last goal against Newcastle? Like his only other goal was against Newcastle. He scored
3 goals and 2 of them against Newcastle.
Yeah, Southampton in a 9-0 win.
That's embarrassing, man. This is the guy who cannot cross a ball. This is the guy who all he likes to do is slide tackle at the back. He's not bad at that, but attacking wise, he's atrocious. And he scored against you, man. I mean, it's hilarious. It is. The highs you guys were after you won your Champions League final the week before, or 2 weeks before that, the utter depression you lot are in. It's just, this is, I have nothing against Newcastle, but you three deserve this. You three deserve this.
Well, to answer Charlie's question, right? Who we're playing this weekend? We're playing Palace, and we devised
away
a new formation.
Away.
Not formation, away, yes. So, and Ali is onto it here as well. We want Tonali to sit in the central defensive midfielder role. We want the 2 Joes. We want Joe Willock, and then as left winger, Joe Linton, and on the right we want Bruno, and then with Gordon playing on right wing. So that's we'll have Dan Byrne back as well. He was suspended for that last game against West Ham. But we want to see some those players in those positions. Give start Tonali, but start him in that central defense.
Did Gordon and Barnes never start together?
They did.
Very rarely.
One on the left, one on the right.
I just don't understand why can't you do that? I know, right? Like one's left-footed, one's right-footed, but like this idea that you can't play like left footer on the right and a right footer on the whatever it is. But like, surely Newcastle's best front three is Isak in the middle, Gordon one side, Barnes the other side. Yet that's never ever played.
Yeah, but Joe Linton's been decent for them when they moved him back forward. But he was crap.
That's what Daz is saying, though. Is that Daz is mentioned that Joe Linton needs to play on the left. That's where he's most
right.
And he needs to have him and Willock in tandem on that left-hand side. Because when we beat you in the cup, Charlie, when we beat Arsenal in the league, and then when we went to Forest and we won there, that's what we played. We might have transitioned it during the game, but that's what we started with, and that was the go-to. And that's what made us successful when we got Champions League football, because they've got a very unique understanding on that left-hand side. On the right-hand side, Gordon needs to play there. For me, like if Gordon's going to start, and I've said to these boys, I think that should be in question at the weekend. I don't think that's a gimme that Gordon starts, because he hasn't been good this season. He has played well for England, granted, and well-deserved call-up for what he did the previous season, but he hasn't played well for Newcastle. So there needs to be a question, and it's the same for Harvey Barnes as well, by the way. They both want to play on the left, fine. But if you want to play in this team, you play where I put you. And that needs to be the strong stance of Eddie Howe. And that's what I'm expecting of him now. It's the same conversation with Sandro Tonali. I think you made a really good point, Charlie. If Sandro Tonali can't get a run in this team, £55 million, semi-finalist previously at AC Milan, forget the 10-month ban, he's still an absolutely quality player. If he can't get a run of 5 or 10 games in this team without being taken out, I would be, if I was him, asking for a transfer. I would be asking to leave Newcastle United, because I'm sorry, there's no way on this earth that Sean Longstaff should be week in, week out keeping Sandro Tonali out of this team. He doesn't play well enough. He's had good games. He played really well against you guys in the cup. He played well against Arsenal, fair enough. But he doesn't consistently have good enough games to keep a player of that ability out this team.
Don't you think you need a formation change though? Like, I don't. Yours tends to be like a 4-3-3 or a 4-1-2-3 kind of thing. Have you ever played like a 4-2-3-1? I just look at your players. I think that might be more balanced because you could play Tonali there. You could play maybe Willock next to him. Play Bruno in the 10, maybe. I don't know. And then have your two wingers and Isak up front. I don't know.
Newcastle got no natural 10s, though, in the squad.
I reckon Bruno could play a 10. Well, remember you were linked with Maddison when he was at Leicester, and you were sort of thinking, like, maybe the idea was to sign him and then play with a 10. But actually, like, yeah, a switch of formation might work. But it's mad that Newcastle haven't got a natural 10 in the squad. No one is. I don't know. I think Bruno could. I think potentially Joe Linton could. I think maybe who else would you have?
Isak played there. You know when we had both Isak and Wilson fit.
Yeah, he played deeper, didn't he? Like a
when Wilson used to come on in the second half, Isak used to float in that 10, and we did win matches that way. Particularly when we finished.
Could Barnes play 10?
Barnes could. Yeah, Barnes
could play 10. Yeah, maybe.
I'll be honest. I've never seen him play more centrally, so I don't really know.
Because you need to find a way to get your best players on the pitch. Now, it's not going to be optimal for everyone, but you want your best players on the pitch, as many of them as you can. And that means that Barnes has got Gordon could play centrally. I reckon Gordon could play centrally.
I don't know. I think he needs to be wide, me personally.
But he could play centrally. But this is what I mean. There are options there and different things to try.
There is. They've got to try something. I mean, they did it with Joe Linton in the end. They moved him and he ended up being a better player in a different position.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of Tonali in the 6. Maybe you could put Bruno in the 8 if you don't want to play him as the 10. There's your 6 and the 8. And then try Barnes there, Joe Linton on the left, Gordon on the right, and Isak up front. Gotta try something. It's like ever since Eddie Howe's been in there, every time I've seen Newcastle play, it's always felt 4-3-3. Yes, you've done it well, but you gotta have like a plan B. You know what I'm saying? Just something to switch it up a little. I think that's what we've had our problem this season is we've been 4-2-3-1 too much, and now people are starting to figure out how to play against us. You're losing to West Ham.
Is there a plan B for Eddie Howe though?
Well, we went 4-4-2 on Monday. It made us worse.
Very 4-4-2.
4-4-2 Brexit ball.
Oh, yeah, literally. But I again, that was a bad decision, and that's on Howe. That's on Howe. But putting us to 4-4-2 and having Isak and Gordon, then eventually Isak and Wilson as that 4-4-2, it exposes the midfield. Because it then goes to a 2 in midfield, which they just play through us time after time with one ball. This is West Ham, whose midfield was shocking, by the way, and they were able to play through us time and time again with one ball. Exactly.
That goal, mate. That was
Paqueta had his best game. He's been shite all season.
Yeah.
He made him look good.
Yeah. Paqueta only grew into the game as well. I'm sure you boys will agree. At the start, he was quite quiet. But I think he grew into the game because he thought, actually, I'm being allowed to play here. And he just gradually got better and better. And Bowen was unbelievable. Bowen was brilliant.
We talked about that in the away days, though, with Lawless. We said that's the likelihood that would happen because he always ups his game against Bruno and JSM.
Fair point. But what's the general mood? Because I was on a stream earlier with Specs. He's not happy. He's not happy.
But if you look on Twitter, there's quite a lot of Newcastle fans that are fuming with Eddie.
Yeah, he was. I was like, you had Howe, and he couldn't bring himself to say it, but he said, "I'm frustrated."
I don't know if you boys feel the same, right? But outside looking in, Eddie Howe's done a fantastic job. It almost feels like it's going a bit stale, and it might need someone with a different idea. I'm not saying he should be sacked or anything, but I get the feeling for me that it almost feels like he's taken it as far as he can. And in a weird sort of way, finishing 4th when you did was way ahead of schedule. And it arguably might have actually set you back a little bit. Perhaps I know it sounds ridiculous, but you might have actually been better off having not qualified for the Champions League that season and maybe 1 or 2 seasons after it, because I think you probably skipped a load of steps in the progression by finishing fourth that season. But for me, it just feels like maybe things are going a little bit stale under Eddie. But then in 2 weeks' time, you might win a couple of games, and then you might be fifth or sixth, and it's like, oh, things are all right again. But I don't know, it just feels a bit stale.
Yeah, Charlie, you know what? I agree with you, but from the other perspective, I think Eddie Howe looks stale. I think he just doesn't have that glint in his eye that he had in that run he went into the Champions League and everything. I feel like, in a way, what Charlie's saying is right. He got you to the Champions League. What more can he really do? Realistically, he can't win you a title. And I just feel he does look a little bit stale, him. And I don't think you should sack him. I think he's a good manager, but something needs to give him a spark. And I don't know if that staleness has come from the fact he's done the Champions League for you, or that he's not been given funds to build a team that can compete more regularly in the Champions League. I don't know which it is, but there's just something about him that isn't the same, almost the same persona, the same energy. Even just listening to some of his presses, they don't feel like they were 2 years ago. And I just think it's him who's a little stale. Huh?
They're the same, Wolfie.
I don't know, man. I don't know. There was a little
he's
more.
one tone. He never changes. But
There was a
the
little more personality in him a couple of years ago. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, mate. Maybe I'm wrong.
The weird. Oh, sorry, Pete. I was just going to say the weird thing is the fact that we always feel like we're one bad loss away from having this conversation. I.e., and it feels that's where the fan base feels as well. Is in like there's a massive group of or section of the fan base who, you know, we could go and win. We said it yesterday, didn't we, boys? We could go and win like 6 or 7 on the bounce, and then we lose a game, and everyone's like, "Ooh, Eddie, ooh, it's time to go." And it's like, but it's after every loss. It's very reactionary at the moment, so I can see from the outside looking in why you feel like that.
I think it's who you lost to. I think that's why the reaction is strong on this one.
I think it's valid. I think it's valid. The way the fans are feeling right now after Monday.
Do you think it is stale, though? Do you think it is a bit stale?
Well, I said to these boys on our review, or it might have been after the show, I can't remember. I think Eddie Howe's lost a little bit of his shine. Shine, a bit of his aura about him. And I can't put my finger on what it could be. And I think you made some good points, Wolfie. I think, is it him gone stale? I don't know. Or is it the fact that he's not been given the funds to improve this team? Now, I think January is a big factor in that, because if he is given the funds and we kick on and have a really good second half of the season, then you could argue that was it, because we've had 2 windows now where we haven't invested at all. And I agree with Claire G. I've watched True Geordie's video.
So like Brian's video, yes.
Yeah, he is very good in what he says, and he hits the nail on the head. But on top of that, if he does get given the funds and we still see the same in and out performances, because I'll be honest with you, boys, I just done a preview with D with regards to the Palace game, and I said on there, I don't know what Newcastle United is going to turn up on Saturday.
Well, the away form's not great either, is it?
Expect until they start kicking that ball at 3:00 on Saturday. I've got no idea what to expect, and that's the worrying thing. Because after those 3 games before the international break, I felt like I knew what I was getting, and I think that's why every Newcastle fan was bouncing into that game on Monday, because we felt like we got a Newcastle that we knew, and we've got that Newcastle that we expected to go and turn West Ham over. And we got the complete opposite. So now we're back to square one. What are we going to get? We don't know. And so it's all a bit up in the air. And I think that's why there's frustration. But what Chris said with regards to, the situation with Eddie Howe out, it's only that section of the fan base.
Chris said that, Eddie Howe out.
No.
Just checking. Right.
Don't start, Wolfie. I think what he said about the reaction, shall I say, when we lose, I think that's that small section, because I'll be honest with you, that small section, we didn't hear a word for 3 games in a row. They weren't on social media. We didn't see any of them. And then all of a sudden, when we lose, that section almost all of a sudden appear. And you're not going to change their mind. I speak to 1 or 2 of them, like personally or on social media. They are Eddie Howe out, and no matter what you say, and no matter what happens on the pitch, they want him out. and so you're not going to change their mind. So you're always going to hear that noise. It all depends on how you respond to it off the back of it, and that's kind of my perspective on it.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Just on the manager stuff. Is Eddie Howe getting the most out of the players? As in, should these players with the squad you have be higher than they are?
I think so.
Yeah.
This is the best squad. This is the best squad that we've had since Eddie Howe took over the club.
Is it better than a top four? Is it better than a Champions League squad?
Yeah, this squad now is better than this. In my opinion, the boys might feel differently. This squad now is the best squad that we've had since our takeover, in my opinion, because we didn't have, like you just touched on it, Trippier, Wilson, Tonali, Harvey Barnes. They're 4 players that came off the bench on Monday. It didn't turn anything round, and yet Wilson and Trippier just came back from injury. But we never had that option. When we were when we finished 4th, we didn't have that option. This squad is as strong as it's ever been. But
so you could make the argument. It's on the manager then. Like this is the thing.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. There's a section of the fan base who do that. I think it's their prerogative to have that opinion. I think maybe they're looking at it saying, this is the best squad we've had since, I don't know, the Shearer, Asprilla, Ferdinand days, yeah? And they're saying, and we're not achieving what we should. Therefore, the common denominator here becomes the manager.
But what is the expectation for Newcastle? I know, like,
Good
obviously the idea for the project is to be a regular Champions League team, but like, if I'm looking at it from a Newcastle perspective, that they've spent money, but obviously the investment's been lacking over the past few windows. If you stand still in the Premier League, you will get left behind. And there's maybe a little bit of a feeling that Newcastle are being left behind slightly through a lack of investment. But what is the expectation for Newcastle at this stage in the project? Because you qualify for the Champions League ahead of schedule, as I said, but what are the expectations for Newcastle right now?
European expectation is European football.
Anything.
And the hope,
Minimum.
and the hope is to scrape into the Champions League just by the skin of our teeth. That's the hope. But no, that was at the start of the season.
So
you just want to play that music. You just want to play that music. That's
why. So it is just European football, basically. So anywhere between 4th and 7th, essentially.
Well, let me ask you guys, if you're saying that, what teams are you not better than in the Premier League?
Not better.
I think we're
Like who would you say finishes ahead of you on your expectation?
Okay. Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, and Chelsea finish ahead of us. I think we have the ability and should be in around that 5th spot. I think we're
so
better
competing with the likes of Villa and Spurs.
And
if it was all on paper and we were looking at squads and we were looking at our best selves and looking at other clubs as well, I agree with Daz. I think we should be 5th or 6th with the possibility of keeping into 4th.
Well, on that then why are you not Eddie Howe? You're 10th now, and you're 5 places behind where you guys are expecting to be.
Aren't we 4 points off second?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're 4 or 100. Your position is your position. At the end of the season,
I think there's context to it though as well.
But it's November.
Of course there is. That's one. It's not the fact that it's November. 2, like I've talked about the squad that we've got, but we've only just assembled that squad just now. We need a run of games with that squad available to us to be able to do that. And to be fair, we've got a run of games now up to Christmas where we can, and I think we all agree, me, Daz, and Chris, we feel that we should be picking up points within those fixtures.
Like West Ham.
But again, like West Ham. But now that puts pressure on us. For me, we have to go and beat Palace on Saturday.
Have to.
And it's a ground that we're not great at, but we have to go and win. Because
your away form's not great either, is it, in general?
Well, we won at Forest.
Well, yeah, everyone wins there, don't it?
Still below I want to hear from
Man.
Yeah, his dam is broken or something. He's not talking. So
Come on,
mate, not only is he even gelled his hair and everything, he's
looking phenomenal. He's just taking it all in.
He's gone full. I mean, we're just one bow tie away from a goddamn wet dream. I
just love football I love football. How it can go from Pete sat there with sunglasses on last time to back to, oh, you know, is he the right man? Is it? This is football,
I
and
never
this
said
is
that. Don't put that on me. I never said is he the right man.
this is the right. Do you know something? I actually think, and I'm going to say something that's probably going to trigger people. I think you need to stop living in the past. Yeah, he did well. He come at a time. No, let me finish. I know that's going to take.
And what
You're going to have
past? I
some
haven't won
conversation.
anything.
No, but this is what I'm saying. He come in at a time where you were languishing. You went on that mad run, got you Champions League. Last season, you can blame it on injuries, of course. This season, yeah, okay, you're 4 points off second, I think you said. But is he actually going to do what you want him to do? Because I actually don't think he is. I don't. I think, as Pete alluded to, you've got a very good squad now. Doesn't seem to be getting what you'd have expected out of him this season. And I actually look at him. I feel like he's got a bit of Klopp syndrome. I think he's aged in the last 12 months. He looks tired. He looks drained. I think it's taken it out of him. So I just, for me, if I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm sort of now thinking to myself, thank you so much, Eddie. But no, Ali, I get what you're saying. But yeah, that was United's problem. We've lived in the past for too long. But you can say that, but we've still won trophies, and that's not me having a dig at you. We've, as bad as we've been, we've won trophies. Simple as that. Yeah. If you guys want to sit with the big boys, and I know PSR doesn't help that. I know you've been absolutely, completely destroyed with that. I think you have to start looking forward now and start questioning: is he the right man to do what you guys want to do? Get Champions League football. I know, obviously, you said scraping Champions League football is, it is what you'd hope would happen. But can you honestly sit here now, all three of you, and tell me that you think you will be in with a shout of Champions League football at the end of the season?
No.
Doesn't feel that way.
For me, it's been.
But then is he? Yeah, I get that. But Champions League is where you want to be. So is he not failing in what job you think he should be doing? Look, I've had the worst of the worst. I had Ten Hag for 2.5 seasons, and he's nowhere near as bad as that man. I just feel like now you need to start seeing the. I don't live in the past with Fergie, Claire. Honestly, I love the fact that you're coming for me with that. This is just my opinion. This is just I get on with Pete, and I really want Newcastle to do well. I do. I genuinely do. They're a team that, ever since the film Goal, I've always kept an eye out for Newcastle. But I just feel like for me as a neutral, I feel like you need to go in a different direction now. I feel like you need to go in a new direction. I think he's had his chance there. There are managers out there. If we can go out there and get Amorim in the mess that we were, then surely with the structure that you're trying to put in place, you can go out there and get a manager that can take you to the next level. And I'm not saying Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho should not be around a Premier League club ever again. He's had his go now. He's had 3-4 bites at the cherry. I just feel like, honestly, maybe you should thank Eddie for what he's done, take his mate with the bright teeth off, and get someone in there. Simple as that.
I think you make a good point, Dan. I think you make a good point. It's a bit like when I look at Arsenal, they've had 3 bites to win the league.
Exactly that.
Do you know what I mean? Where you feel like Arteta was the right man to stabilize them and progress them. But to take them to the promised land, I don't think he can do it. And I think it's the same. Maybe the way Dan's put it together has got me thinking maybe that's what you needed at the time. Eddie Howe brought you from the depths of a relegation battle, stabilized you, put you in this position. But is that next step too much for him?
But he was always going to be phase 1 of the project. Yeah. He was always going to be the phase 1 manager. Like the idea was not to be Eddie Howe there long term, 4, 5, 6 years to lead Newcastle to this new promised land. He was always, as far as I'm concerned, he was going to be the guy that comes in, stabilizes it, gets Newcastle to a certain point for someone else to come and take the job.
Let's not forget, he wasn't the first choice you had for this phase 1 anyway. No. Let's not forget that. That's another big tell for me. I just feel like if you guys want to be going where you want to be going, Newcastle, right? Whether rival fans like it or not, you've got a phenomenal following. You've got a massive stadium. You should be up there. You should be up there with the big boys. You've got everything there to do that. You've got the owners now. Once this PSR bollocks is sorted out and it rules hopefully in your favour, you should be then going, do you know something? We've got the structure here to really push on. Since they've come in, they've done their bits around the training ground. They've done all of that to try and bring you forward. Now it needs to be the focus on who you bring to take you to the next stage. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Hang on a sec. Right. What you guys are saying is valid. But what we're saying, the line across the top, correct me if I'm wrong, lads, but we're saying, wait. Let's see how the January transfer window goes.
Oh, yeah.
With Mitchell and Howe working together this time. See what that brings and see what Eddie can do between now and the end of the season. Then all those permutations you're describing are on the table. But we need to see where we are. It's too early to push buttons
but
now.
Is it though, Daz? Is it? Like I genuinely feel like at the end of the season, if you've not got European football, you're going to be sat there going, we should have got someone in with it. I know hindsight's a wonderful thing. I know that. But I just genuinely feel like you'll be thinking, we've missed it. We've missed an opportunity here. With the players we've got, we should have finished better. I just think he looks tired.
I think Dan, the issue is, and there's context to this, and Charlie's right in what he said, is that, and we have to go back to last season because of this, because I think this is the reason why he will be given the opportunity to see this season out. When he had to navigate us, when he basically had 11 or 12 players fit, and when he was throwing a load of young players on the bench, we had no options, playing the same 11 week in, week out. He went through that period, right, and then took us out of that period, got us playing well, and we only just missed out on European football because you won the FA Cup. And so because he came that close, having such a depleted season of no players to choose from, they're giving him this season to prove himself. It's almost like they are. And the reason why they're not pulling the plug right now is for everything that Daz has just said. Is that if you look at that table right now, we're still in the conversation, regardless of where we are. We're 10th in the league, but we're still in the conversation, and a run of games will take us there. He might not do it, Dan. He might
do
not.
You think United will finish in top 4?
Well, I don't know.
No, honestly, do you think United?
I don't know.
No. How many points are we behind you?
I think you'll get better with your new manager. But
2 points behind you.
But this is the thing, Dan. There is context to this. Everything that I said last season is still valid with these owners towards Eddie Howe. On the back of that, we've already mentioned we had 2 transfer windows, January and summer, where we didn't sign a first team ready player. We just didn't, and that's not on Eddie Howe. That's on the club not bringing in the players that are needed. So they're going to give him January to do that. And I'm more and more convinced every day that we move closer to January that we are going to strengthen with 1 or 2 ready players. And if they then give him that and he doesn't succeed, I think he's gone. I personally think he's gone anyway. I do think, regardless where we get European football, I've said it to these boys countless times.
Do you think this is his last season?
I actually do think, regardless of where he finishes in the league, because of the reasons why what Dan said, he does look a lot older and he does look tired, but I think he's lost a bit of his shine. I said that just as Dan was coming on the stream. I do think for those reasons, I think he will step away regardless. I think he might feel ready to move on to something else, and he's had his stint at Newcastle United. He'll give it one last chance. He's going to go at the Carabao Cup, and he's got a great chance of getting to the semi-finals, beating Brentford. I think he'll go at the FA Cup to try and win something for Newcastle. But if it's not successful and he doesn't get European football, regardless of whether he wants to step away or not, the club will make that decision for him. Because for me, there is an absolute minimum expectation now for this club to get any type of European football. Remember, we got nothing last season. We have to get it as minimum.
That's you, Dan.
And if we keep playing, and the point that we keep making, if we're constantly up and down, winning one week, losing the next, not knowing what team is going to come out on that pitch for Newcastle United, it's only going to end in one way, and it'll be Eddie Howe losing his job, whether we want it or not. Because Newcastle United, as those owners, will not accept 2 years out of European football after finishing fourth. That is not acceptable for these owners. They won't accept that.
See, Dan's
I
convinced.
do agree with you on your points, but there is context, and this is why we think he'll be given time.
it just sounds like, I think Dan's convinced me. Good case Dan put forward. He's right. It's almost like if you're saying that, Pete, at the end of the season, come what may, he's going to go, be it if they get rid or he steps away.
That's just
Then
my
why are you
opinion.
waiting? Yeah,
That's
I
just
know,
my
but
opinion.
yeah, but play it out. Then what's the point in waiting? Because everyone seems inside Newcastle or an outsider looking in, he does look stale or tired or whatever way you want to phrase it. And maybe it just needs someone to come in and re-energize it. And the thing is, if you reset in the summer, then you start the whole process thing again, don't you? So the person's going to have his pre-season. Then when you start next season, it'll be a case of he needs a couple of months to gel. You bring in someone in now towards the end of the season, re-energize, go on that cup run, maybe push for Europe, and then you can build better in the summer. I don't know, Dan, you convinced me, mate.
Who's available? Who would be available now?
It doesn't matter.
Over,
It doesn't.
over,
That's irrelevant.
But it does. It does
Eric?
matter. You can't just get anybody and anyone like who's available to come in. And if you're an owner, if you're on the board of Newcastle United, you're going to want to do your due diligence over the summer to get the right manager.
You know what? If your project is as good as it's meant to be, then it doesn't matter who's available. The question should be, who do you want? That should be the question, not who's available. Because that, if you think you guys should be Champions League, then a Champions League team or a team that aspires to Champions League should be able to attract managers that are not available. That's it. Unless you guys want Steve Cooper, if that's what you're talking about, you want to look on the, the job center list, then otherwise you need to look at managers who are not available if you think you really are that top 5 team.
I take your point. Do you know what? I was really interested listening to Dan there because, like, my red and blue mates, they've been saying this to me for 12, 18 months. They've been going to me, oh, you need with the Howe, and I was always like, no, we're on the right track, on the right journey. And like, my mate pulled me to one side. It was on a night out a few months ago, and he was like, we're not being horrible to you, we're just saying we can see from the outside in, you need to move on. You need to move on from Eddie Howe. And they've been saying it to me for ages. And every time,
intervention, was it?
Yeah, honestly. And every time, we have a loss or whatever, he always goes, see. And a lot of what you're saying there, Dan, and I know it's coming from a good place. I know some people in the chat didn't think it was. I know it's coming from a good place. And you're talking from experience as well, because you
100%.
have had... Yeah.
100%. We had it with Ollie. Like, Ollie took us, from a period in time where we were awful. We come out the back end of Jose Mourinho, completely alienating everything. He come in and he was phenomenal what he did. Led us to a second place finish in a time where Liverpool and City have dominated before Arsenal started coming about, and it was fantastic. But we should have then moved forward and got a good manager in to follow him. But instead, we thought we're doing right here. We'll keep on, and then you have that affinity with them, don't you? So, look, I get why you boys love Eddie Howe. At the end of the day, that guy come in and absolutely, he rebuilt you. He brought the good times back. The players were together. Turned Joe Linton into a central midfielder for 2 seasons. He was incredible at it. It was phenomenal. But sometimes you just have to, as much as it hurts, you have to go the other direction. And again, rival fans, I don't want you to think I'm saying this because of Amarim coming to United, because I've got plenty to say about that in a bit. But I just think it's hard. It's hard when a manager has done well for you and has turned your fortunes around. It is hard to know when to say, do you know what? He's done his part now. Completely what Charlie said. He's done phase 1. Now we build and now we move forward. Simple as that. It is hard. It is.
Daz, Pete, can I ask you a quick question? And we haven't really spoken about this. We've spoken about this previously, but we haven't spoken about it more recently. If we're saying about needing this, at least 1, possibly 2 first team ready big impact players. If we get to February and we've not signed anybody, Pete and Daz, are you more convinced that this is Eddie's last season and it's a case of we're having save up time and we're just literally saving as much money as we can PSR wise to go big in the summer? Will you believe that if that's the case? If we get to January, or February, should I say, January's gone, we get to February and we haven't signed a first team ready player, do you believe that that's like Eddie Howe's last innings, if you like, and he's just been told, you know what, no more money and see the season out?
First of all, Chris, that is not in the script, so I can't answer that question. No, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We're definitely signing one player, and
mate,
at minimum,
we said this last window, didn't we? We said this last
Yeah, I know
window.
we said that every window. We've transfer shows to do.
We did.
If they don't back him in January and they don't bring a couple of first team players in, then his death warrant's been signed. They will already be looking at someone else. Simple as that. Because there'd be no point in bringing people in and doing that.
He will know it, Dan. He'll know it.
Yeah.
If they don't bring for me, I'll go as far as saying this. If we don't bring in one or two, I think two is minimum. I think if we don't bring in one or two first team ready players, it's bordering on neglect, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because this team needs it. There are areas of this team that genuinely need strengthening. That right-hand side of the attacking three is an absolute disgrace. I'm sorry, Jacob Murphy is not good enough for a Premier League level footballer. He's great for a squad player to come in for here and there if you're in an emergency, but not to regularly come off the bench or even start for Newcastle United. Miguel Almiron should have gone last January. And we've literally, and I said this to you boys in January when the window closed, we've had to freeze him out of the first team to make him leave. That should never happen. We had a £30 million bid accepted in January last year from a Saudi club, and he didn't want to move. We had similar accepted or certainly bidded for in the summer. He didn't want to move. Like, we need him moving out because we need a player out in order to bring a player in that position, because we've already got two right wingers. We're in a really difficult position. Like, in defence.
Alan, you are so rattled. You're so rattled, mate.
We can't keep having, with all due respect, we probably missed him on Monday, but we can't keep having Dan Burn at centre-back. We need to move on from Dan Burn. We have to have players in there. And with all due respect to him, he's been brilliant the last 3 years at Newcastle United. But we can't keep going on with Fabian Schär either. Fabian Schär's 33. We need to move. We need to move on. Some of these players.
Kelly? Lloyd Kelly for free looks like you've overpaid.
That audience, on Monday, that was his opportunity to show himself. He was absolutely dreadful.
Mate, we'll sell you toasting for a profit next summer.
Sorry?
We'll sell you toasting next summer for a profit.
Well, I think we need to be. If Kelly continues to perform like that, I think we need to make a profit on Kelly and make some money on him.
We might struggle to do that.
Yeah, 15 million still profit. Get rid of him. That was one game. He could well turn it round. He's still early days in his career at Newcastle.
Yeah. So I'll ask one question, boys. Like in our fan base, we had a sect of the fan base, quite a big one, that felt they owed Cooper because he got us promoted. Yeah. And he was clearly out of his depth in the Premier League. And God forbid anyone like me who would call him out on how bad he was in the Premier League.
Don't do that.
Innit, man? Yeah. Have you not seen that? There's Forest fans defending Cooper being sacked at Leicester this week. It's hilarious. Anyway, is there a similarity with that in your fan base towards Eddie Howe? That because he saved you from that relegation in that season, do you guys, not specifically you, but in general the fan base, do you feel you owe Eddie Howe because of that? And he got the Champions League, of course. Yeah,
there is a section there in that boat that you just described there, Wolfie. But us, again, the line across the top, and correct me if I'm wrong, lads, but we will be ruthless come the summer. But we're going to give it to the summer. I know I definitely am. If it doesn't get what I expect us to get, including where we are.
I said that at the end of the season, mate. I said that at the end of the season with Ten Hag, and look what happened.
You wanted him to stay. You wanted him to stay, man.
Me and you aren't the same, Dan. I'll see you in the car park. I'll see you in the car park after, right?
I think there's an element of fans to give Eddie Howe the opportunity to turn it around, but I think by the summer, if we're not playing European football or qualified for European football, at the very minimum, I think you'll probably have the majority of the fan base that will go, I think it's time. And I think that's where the Newcastle fan base will be at that point, because to get no European football 2 years in a row will be considered sort of unacceptable from where we are and where we're looking to go. It would be massively hampering the progression and the project of the club. We have to get it.
Yeah, so. for me, I'm aligned with these boys. Like I feel like us giving back to Eddie is this season. Like last season, loads of injuries, loads of caveats, a couple of poor windows. Yes, we've had a poor window, in the summer. But for me, this is kind of, for want of a better phrase, Dan, this is his Ten Hag season. For me, this is where he's got to step up and really prove himself. Because I think if we finish outside the European places this season, I mean, Charlie asked us earlier, about like injuries and stuff. Like we've got 2 players out, and the 2 players out are Botman, who's been out for a hell of a long time, and Jamal Lascelles. Yeah, you can add Emil Kraft to that as well. But Emil Kraft and Jamal Lascelles are very much fringe players. The only one big player that we're missing is Sven Botman. In terms of injuries, we've now got Wilson back, we've got Trippier back. So for me, there's no excuses. If he doesn't perform and he doesn't, deliver, questions have got to be asked. They've got to be. And I wish him the best and thank him for everything. But, we can't stand still and we can't, carry on as we are.
I feel sorry for you guys. I do. Because it's hard. No, what I mean is because it is hard when you grow attached to a manager. It is hard because you do want to give them that time, don't you? And
so no matter what anyone says. Are you adamant that we should be saying Howe out right now then? Is that where you think we should be?
Well, I mean, you're a direct rival for us getting Europe. So, if I'm being honest, no. But, look, as a football fan, yeah, I think if you're so ready to take this next step and move up, then yeah, you have to. You've got to move on and get the next manager in, because it will be a case of, I know that come the summer you will be going, we should have gone have a manager in. We should have. I honestly think the Mark Gahey transfer saga was the start of the end. I honestly do. I think if you wanted him, you should have gone out and got him. Simple as that.
If they believed in Howe, they would have signed him.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
Dan, imagine he scores the winner this weekend.
It's almost written. I reckon it's almost written in his script. So a Mark Gahey winner.
Can you imagine?
He has been scoring from corners recently.
Elliot Anderson was one that was in the script as well, but that never happened.
Yeah, it was Liverpool just scored. McAllister. Oh, they're starting to get annoying, aren't they?
Have you seen Real Madrid this season though?
They have no defense. They have no defense.
Yeah,
that'd be good. That's not surprising. Liverpool at home, right?
Yeah. They're always at home.
Yeah, there we go. But look, we've had our Newcastle United talk therapy part 2. Look, I think this conversation will rumble on, and I've got a feeling that it will chop and change people's opinions on Newcastle United and how and various of the season go on. Whether it's us that feel differently or whether it's these boys on the panel that feel differently. I think they'll be
check in next week.
Yeah.
I know you'll be back. He'll be in his flowery shirt next week with his fucking sunglasses back on.
Just in case for next week, we'll see. Look, we'll wrap up the show because we're talking about Chelsea and talking about Man United. Look, we didn't talk too much on Chelsea earlier, but you're in the same boat as Brighton. Another big win at the weekend against Leicester. Although you had a rocky period where they had you on the ropes for a short period.
Oh, they had one or two half opportunities, but it was a convincing performance. We played well. 3 points. Obviously, Maresca going back to the King Power, gets Steve Cooper the boot on his return.
Hilarious.
Will we play better than that this season? Absolutely, we will. But we've done enough to win the game. The only maybe slight disappointment was not keeping the clean sheet, giving away a penalty right at the end. But other than that, we dominated the game for large periods. We were never really under any sort of threat apart from one chance they had in the first half of the shot going wide. But other than that, we played well. 3 points that we needed because heading into the break, we were only 1 win in 5. But Now we've got a really good run of games. We've got a big week coming up next week. We've got Villa on Sunday. Then we've got Southampton and Tottenham away next week as well. So it's an opportunity for us to get some decent points on the board and really consolidate our place in the top 4. But yeah, no, it was a. I don't want to say it was impressive because it wasn't like, wow, what a performance, but it was a professional performance, and we're going in the right direction.
Charlie, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Sancho?
He's not played. He has played. He started well. He had his man of the match performance when he come on against Bournemouth at half time. He got 3 assists in his first 3 games, and then against Liverpool, we had a poor first half, and he was subbed off. And then we didn't see him for a month. He was an unused sub for a couple of games. Then he was unavailable for the United game because of his loan, and then he missed a couple of games through illness/injury. So we haven't actually seen that much of him. So it's hard to give an opinion. Sort of first 3 or 4 games, great. Couple of games after that, not so good. I suspect that I would expect him to start tomorrow night in the Conference League against Heidenheim. I don't know what we're going to get from him, to be honest, because not really seeing enough right now. But he'll get regular minutes and he will play fairly often for us. But I'm not too sure what we're going to get. But I think, if we can get him anywhere near back to his best, he will be a useful option for us.
I got so many pelters from Chelsea fans saying, thank you for Sancho. And I watched him against Liverpool. I was like, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Against Liverpool. He was poor.
Man United fans will go mad when they realise that it was, a £25 million fee to make it permanent?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
They'll go mad at that, but you could argue if he's gonna be missing games for huge chunks of the season, it could well be 25 million in the bank for Man United potentially.
Yeah, we'll see. Like as I said, he'll definitely play. I don't know how well he's going to do for us, but he'll have opportunities, and he will feature fairly regularly.
Do you think, Charlie, that if he continues the way he does now, like he might play regularly, Europa Conference League, this, that, and the other, and he doesn't really set the world alight in the Premier League, where you want him to be setting the world alight for where he should be playing? Do you think Chelsea are going to actually go for that 25 million?
Oh, well, it's basically a done deal anyway. As long as we finish, because the stipulation is as long as we don't finish in the bottom 6 this season. So we're not going to finish in the bottom 6. So it's a done deal. I think it's one of them where at 25 million, and with him still being 24, even if it doesn't particularly work out, for the money being spent, it's probably worth the risk. And even if he does half well, but not what Chelsea wanted, you're probably still selling for more than 25 million anyway. So I look at it as it's more of an opportunistic signing. If he was not available for loan and it was going to cost like 50 million odd to get him, I don't think we would have done it. So I think we done it because of because of the deal. And yeah, is he going to be someone that's here in 3 or 4 years? Got absolutely no idea, but it is someone that for that price and with what he's done, I know at United he was poor, he didn't really do very much, but I think it was worth the gamble, and I think we can make some money on him potentially if things don't go well.
What did you boys make of the whole Leicester players celebration? And I love Enzo, or Enzo, I miss you, or whatever it was.
They were straight to cope. Do you know what's weird though? Just on it, right? You get the things that come out. Firstly, why didn't they sack him in the international break? 2 weeks to appoint a new manager, and you get maybe a new manager bounce for the game. Never understood that. And then you got stuff coming out. Oh, he was never the first choice anyway. So why did you appoint him? It's incredible, really, when you think about it. But yeah, no, mate, I don't know. It never looks good. But mate, Cooper and Leicester was just a disaster. From the off. Mate, I was there on Saturday, and genuinely, I was watching them. I was just like, I've got absolutely no idea what their game plan was and what they were trying to do. Literally had no idea. You watch them and you think, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're trying to do.
That's how it was at Forest. That's how it was at Forest, mate.
It almost looked like it was hit and hope. It was
It
like
was-
look
mate,
the ball
yeah,
up the body and hope
Yeah.
that something sticks.
Mate,
And
they're
a couple of times it did, and they nearly scored off it in the
I
first
mean,
half.
their only shot on target was their penalty in the 93rd minute.
And then Diddy's shot in the first half was horrific, man.
Yeah,
It was so bad.
They were in a really good position as well. Probably should have done a bit better. But yeah, look, I mean,
thought
look,
he was lucky to stay on the pitch.
oh,
That
of course,
challenge.
yeah, he
That was a
absolutely
red,
was, mate.
yeah.
A terrible challenge. But I mean, look,
Penalty.
like if you didn't watch the game, like you look at 2-1, you think, oh, it might have been a close game. No, it wasn't a close game.
It wasn't. They were horrific.
They were
And
awful.
What was the
Absolutely
crowd reaction like to him, Charlie? Were you at the game?
awful. Yeah, what to Maresca?
No, to both, to Cooper and Maresca.
There was
You're
no,
fixated on Cooper.
there was
It's
no,
hilarious, honestly, mate. Honestly, the
Mate,
shit
there
I've
were no-
taken
there were
over
no-
Cooper being crap.
There were no boos for Cooper, even at full time. To be honest, the stadium was pretty much empty anyway at full time from a Leicester perspective. But like, there was no boos for Cooper. But the Leicester fans were like, they were shocking. It was really flat, no noise from them pretty much all game. But I mean, look, yeah, we got the job done. We're a point off second. We're doing all right.
Come on.
Mbappe's taking this pen. Mbappe's
Come on,
taking
then.
it.
Is
He's
Mbappe
gonna
taking
win.
it?
Yeah, he's gonna miss.
With Ares Madrid career's gone, he probably will miss.
Yeah. Can we talk
Still
about
hold-
Scammer him now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Woody Forest still last. They're like, so what did you call him? Scammering.
Scammer him.
Mate, do you know what I've seen?
Scammer him, man.
You know he wears
After
a
all the hype.
You know he wears a Montclair jacket, right? I've seen someone on Twitter refer to him as the Montclair Moyes.
Dad, come on, right to reply here. Right to reply.
I know. Look, I've got to say thank you. I've got to say thank you to the Manchester United players, because I've seen this group of fraudulent bastards. When a new manager turns up, turn it on, and it's all gravy, and that's it. They've turned a corner, and they get it. We're gonna go Champions League, fucking dilly ding, dilly dong, all that bollocks. And
He
I'm
missed.
buzzing.
He missed.
I'm absolutely,
I'm
absolutely buzzing. I'm absolutely buzzing. I think it was the perfect outcome for me. I literally, at the end of the game, I was happy we didn't lose. I didn't want us to lose, but I just know that if this guy is worth as much as people think he is, and everyone says he's a great manager, I think he'll have made his mind up already on a lot of those players. You know, I mean, the team he started, he had to do that because he'd only had the players, some of them for 3 or 4 days. So I'm chilling. I'm absolutely chilling. People saying scammer him, yeah, okay, after one game, that's nice. People saying Montclair, Moyes, yeah, that's brilliant. One game, nice. I'm certainly not going to judge a bloke on one game. And Ipswich, I've got to be honest with you.
They should have won.
They should have
Easily.
won. They should have absolutely won. But Ipswich, you look at how they play, I really hope they stay up. I really enjoyed watching them play against us. It's the first time I've watched them properly this season. So I think he's got a lot more to do. And I think we learned so much about this new formation. There is no chance on this earth that half of those players are ready for this. I don't think they've got the brain to do it.
Johnny Evans, what was he doing in that
The
formation?
players were
That's not
injured
right.
though. But like, do you know what it does prove? I think we knew this all along, right? One, that the job at Man United is absolutely massive, and it's going to take a long time to fix. And then the second thing that we already knew, so many of the players in that squad and that 11 are simply not good enough.
100%. 100%. Do you know something? I'll be honest with you, and I can say this with chest. When we scored after 77 seconds, I went, oh, for fuck's sake. Because I had this horrible feeling.
I've done the same.
I had this horrible feeling they'd go on and do 4 or 5, and then it would be the training ground pictures the next day, winners, blah, 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 blah. No chance. He will want to get rid of a lot of that team. Casemiro will go. Ericsson will go. Evans, I love him. Sir Jonathan Evans of Manchester, he will go. Rashford will not fit this system.
Oh my
Rashford
God.
Bruno
will not
doesn't
fit
fit.
this system.
He scored that
I'm
goal.
glad you said that,
He did nothing
Wolfie,
else.
because
No.
I literally watched in that game and I thought, I don't see where you fit in this, Bruno.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I get as captain, he's got to come and say, yeah, I'm behind the manager and I want to help as much as I can. No. So there's so many positives from that game. The only bell end of the whole night was Ed Sheeran trying to come in and get his head on TV. What a wanker. What an absolute wanker. Honestly, I was like, just piss off, mate. Go write another love song with Beyonce, you twat.
Well, Roy Keane, mate, he wanted to go out in the car park.
Yeah, man, I love that from Keane. Mate, but like these guys, these fans, they think they can just get away with anything, and then they shit themselves when they get called out on it. So yeah, if I was Keane, I would have just done him in the car park.
And also, I feel very vindicated saying this now because I said this in front of all you guys. I said this in front of all of you. You all asked me, does this mean United will get Champions League? And I said, hell to the no. Hell to the no. There is so much work that needs doing there. They're putting the right things in place now. Now they've got to back it. Now they absolutely have to back it. What's that? Oh, yeah. Konza man. But the other thing I will say is he was hindered this week with people being missing at the back. I do think that having to play Mazraoui and Johnny Evans there, I think it would have been a different. I think it would have been completely different with Martinez there. I do genuinely think he was hampered. But at the same time, like he's been going on about Mason Mount, the way he's talking about him, he's making me think, fucking hell, have we got a world-class player here? Am I missing something? So he's going to have to back it up with that. But the other thing I will say is he knows that this job's massive now. He is under no illusions. This job is massive. He said something in the interview that I thought, yeah, you've had your eyes opened. When he said, I've done more interviews in the last 2 weeks than I did in the whole 4 years at Sporting Lisbon. So we'll see. The other person I will say as well that has to go in January is Xerxes. I can run quicker than that bloke.
He's terrible.
He looked so good at Bologna. Then they got Champions League football. He looks a shell of his player.
People say he was good at Bologna, right? And he did have. He scored 11 goals in Serie A.
Yeah, 11 goals.
It's not about his goals though. His whole build-up play was so good there.
But it just
looks so slow though.
He knitted everything together.
It just looks like a strange
player that just fit that team really well.
The one thing I will say that I was impressed with Amorim about is he come out after the game and called out where we were shit. And I'm sick to death of hearing managers say, "Oh, it's this, it's that." He come out and said it straight away, and I want that from a manager. Johnny Evans, bless him, they wheel him out for 55 minutes, then they wheel him back off. I will quite happily sit here and say he gets a free hit this season, Amorim. Absolutely, I'm so excited for January to see what we do. I'm so excited to see what we do in the transfer market because we will sign people. There's no doubt he will not sit there and say, "Okay, I'm happy with what I've got until we get to the end of the season." So I'm chilling. I'm absolutely chilling.
Yeah. Dan, talk to me on Haaland, the Danish Haaland or wherever he's from.
I think Erik ten Hag has absolutely destroyed that lad.
Yeah,
I think he's absolutely destroyed him. I think he's a lad that come in, a young lad with potential. I looked at and I thought he's strong. He's got a bit of pace to him. He had a decent season at Atalanta there. I honestly sat there and I thought we could do something with this guy, but I don't think he's a Premier League striker. I'm happy to say that now. I'm happy to hold my hands up and say that. I don't see it.
Yeah, but Dan, we said that. Did we say that about Charles Jackson? And look at him now.
He's miles better than Højlund.
He's still shit.
No. He's not shit. Jackson is not shit. What you're seeing now is the reason why.
For £32 million, right? Considering he cost over half the price of Højlund, he scored way more goals than him. He's been significantly better than him. Less experienced when he come as well. Like Jackson, for me, he's obviously he's performing very, very well, and there's very few strikers in the league right now who are actually better than him. There aren't. No.
Chris Wood's got more goals than him. Are you going to say Chris Wood's better?
Nicholas Jackson offers way more on a football pitch than Chris Wood.
Who's better, Chris Wood or
Jackson? Misses far more chances than he puts away, Charlie.
Exactly.
No, he's finishing is massively improved.
Jackson's better, Charlie.
It has improved.
He's much better this season.
It has. No, I completely agree with you, but I still think. How old's he now?
23.
23. So you really need to start seeing banging numbers now at 23, 24 because
he'll get 20 goals this season
in the league.
Yeah.
No.
He's got 7. He's got 7 right now. Providing he stays fit for the rest of the season. There's 26 games left this season.
Charlie, if he was decent, he'd be on about 13 right now.
He needs a 1 in 2 strike rate for the rest of the season to hit 20 league goals. I don't think that's impossible with the amount of chances we create, providing he stays fit.
You're trying to get
I don't think it is.
I suppose
you should come with the same arguments on him, Charlie. Oh, he only cost us 30. Look how much they spent on pizza face at Man U.
He scored 14 Premier League goals last season, right? In his first season, which is a very good return for any striker in a season. And he's already halfway to that target after 12 games. This is a guy that is improving, and he's one of the best strikers in the league right now. He is.
Rudiger. Idiot. Penalty, Liverpool.
Salah's just destroyed him.
Yeah, he just turned him inside out there.
Dan, just to add in what you were talking about before, I know it probably started off when I said I agree with you. Over Rashford, when he scores in the first minute, because he's always been the same. Like he turns off, doesn't he? And then you get that new manager bounce, and
that was the only thing he did on Sunday.
Yeah,
he did the only thing he did.
And the first minute, I thought, is he turned up now? Is that it? Is that him now? Is he going to start playing? But you're absolutely right. As soon as he scored the goal, it was just like he just turned down Rose again.
And this is the thing, like people are going at Garnacho so much this season. Oh, that's hilarious. People are going at Garnacho a lot this season, but I'd have Garnacho over Rashford any day of the week because that kid will try and do something. Rashford, if he's not interested, he's gone. And I don't think he fits the style of play. And I would happily sell him on and bring someone else in. I really would.
Do you know the biggest problem is, right? Look at United and you sort of think, Højlund, I don't think it's a bad signing, but it's a bad signing when you sign him as the main guy.
Like, he missed the goal. He missed the goal completely. Sorry. Salah's penalty. Wide. It nearly hit the corner flag, man. It was that.
Like, if you're going to bring in a young striker like Højlund, right, you need to have someone established ahead of him. So, like, that for me is the first big mistake. Is not bringing an established striker in for Højlund to be an understudy to. And you look at Man United.
Jackson, Charlie.
But you look at Jackson's been much better than Højlund. And you look at
obsessed with Højlund. Every time you've spoken on him, you compare
Charlie. How many goals? How many games did Højlund miss last season through injury though? He started the season in September because he was injured. He had a really good Champions League campaign. He scored a lot of goals in Champions League for us. I'm not saying he's a lost hope, but I just worry under this manager. I think Amarin's already got his ideas of where he wants to go.
But a club like Man United cannot have Zirkzee and Højlund as their number 9 options. They simply can't.
Mate, trust me, I know that. We had to go through Weghorst for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and Igalo.
Charlie, let me ask you this, Charlie, right? Do you think Jackson's good enough to lead for a title charge?
Potentially. Possibly.
Yeah. Okay,
I don't know.
If Gyökeres decides he's going to come to Chelsea in January, he'd say, nah, he can sit on the bench behind Jackson.
We won't sign Gyökeres.
That's not my question.
Wolfie, that is such a good question in the way that I am absolutely with you on this. Charlie, as much as you have this affinity for him, Chelsea still want to sign a striker.
Yeah, we will sign a striker, but it won't be a big name. It won't
be a big name?
No, we'll end up signing someone like Liam Delap.
You've been linked with him. Yeah, but they've been linked with him. Honestly, when Osimhen is gone, that's been and gone. That was the summer. I don't see that happening now. Gyökeres, for me, I think he's a fantastic player.
Charlie, I get that. Charlie, can you hear me, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, so what your aspirations for Chelsea? You get this season out of the way, then you want to start challenging for the league, yeah?
You have to, yeah.
Do you challenge? So you're telling me that you will challenge for a league with Delap and Jackson up top?
Cracking question.
Well, look, when you say it like that, obviously, like if someone says, "Oh, can you challenge with Delap and Jackson?" In theory, you would probably say no. But if
he's going to get 20 goals, Charlie, you told us.
Yes, and I believe he will. So if Jackson's a 20 goals a season striker, which I believe that he is, then I think you can challenge with. I think you could challenge with that. I know on paper it doesn't sound like it's much, and everyone thinks you need a big name and whatnot. But ultimately, like for me, Chelsea, for what they're looking to for the way they recruit, how we're looking to play and whatnot, we would actually, it might sound mental, but we would be better off signing Liam Delap than we would be signing a Gyökeres or someone like that. For the way,
signing a defender.
well, or a defender as well. We will get a defender as well in the summer. But for me, Chelsea aren't going to sign a big name striker. I've said this so many times. We simply won't sign a big name. Gyökeres will not come to Chelsea.
You've tried.
I don't think he'll come to United either. By the way, I don't think he comes to United.
I think he ends up at Barcelona to replace Lewandowski. Yeah, I think he'd be at Barcelona.
They got no money, man.
No, they always find money. They always find it.
I think he's got a buyout clause, hasn't he? It's like 70, 80 million, 84 million, something like that.
I think there's a sunset on it.
I think that'll be who Arsenal will probably target. It'll either be Gyökeres or Isak. They'll come for one of the two. And I think with Gyökeres being the player that he is now and having that release clause that's considerably less than what they'd have to pay for Isak because of what we'd want for him, I think they'll try and go for Gyökeres. But
is he going to go there after Gabriel did his celebration yesterday, though?
Come on, that's not a big deal.
Gabriel DM and saying I was paying a homage to you. It was a homage to you.
He didn't even do it right because he covered his eyes when he was doing it.
Yeah, I think he's doing it. It was like a makeshift version. But I want to finish on Forest.
Have we got time? I thought.
Yeah, we have. We've got a couple of minutes to finish on Forest.
Make time.
We'll make time, of course. Obviously, you've had your fun with Newcastle and all the rest of it, but a heavy defeat against Arsenal at the weekend. Are you worried that the good form and the goodwill is kind of
the wheels on the bus have fallen off?
Yeah, or that analogy instead. Wheels.
Not yet. Ask me after Ipswich. Look, Arsenal on paper we should have lost to. Newcastle we shouldn't have lost to. West Ham we shouldn't have. Oh wait, we didn't lose to West Ham. That was you. But in general, these two games that we have lost, most apart from me, because I'm deluded, would say we should have lost. This Ipswich one on Saturday is huge.
Are you home or away?
I watched them. We're at home.
You're at home.
I watched them play again. I've watched them a few times, but I was really impressed with them against Man U. I thought they played really well.
100%, mate. I agree.
And I like their style of play. I'm a bit like Dan. I don't really care if they stay up or not, but I wouldn't be opposed to them staying up because they play a style of, and I don't know many of their players. Not a team that I watch that much. So Forest needs to beat Ipswich. We got both Manchester clubs straight after that. Wednesday is Man City, then Saturday we got your boys, Dan.
It's an easy 6 points, isn't it, mate? The way that both Manchester just playing at the moment.
It's a big month. And then Villa and Spurs, I think, off the top of my head, with Brentford somewhere in between. So I'm, for God's sake, they've gone 2-0 up, boys.
Yeah.
Gakpo with a header. So, yeah, I'm cautious at the moment. I'm looking at it with squinted eyes. But this Ipswich one, boys, I'll be honest, I'm reactionary. When we win, I think, the world is rosy, and when we lose, it's freaking, I hate football. As you guys are, as every fan base is, as most will secretly tell you inside, And I think with everyone, I think why we're all frustrated with the wins and losses in our teams is you look at it and think, but if we hadn't lost to Newcastle, if we hadn't messed up against Fulham, we'd be sitting second or pushing Liverpool or something like that. Same with Newcastle. If you hadn't lost to West Ham, you'd be sitting fifth now. Same with Man U. If you'd won that game, you're back in the top half. 2 extra points, Europe straight on. I think this is the frustration because it's so topsy-turvy. The team that goes on the run this side of Christmas will have a very happy fan base, but we probably have the hardest fixtures. So I think Ipswich for Forest is a must-win ahead of the Manchester matches because that's going to be tough. Both of them are away, back-to-back away matches. We got to get 3 points on the board. That releases the pressure a little. That gets us to like 22 points, I think. But it's going to be tight. If we're still in and around this come the other side of Christmas, then yeah, I'm happy. And I agree that Hutchinson was a quality player.
Yeah,
he had you on toast. Yeah,
top player. Played really well. We'll see. Anyone else Want to go in on Forest, Daz?
There's nothing to
Charlie,
say, boys.
Dan?
There's nothing.
No,
No,
nothing to say.
we did enough to
look,
Wolfie last time out.
I just love it because
go
obviously
easy.
rival fans go in for Wolfie because Wolfie loves to do what I did tonight and riled some Newcastle fans when I was just giving an opinion. But at the end of the day, like Wolfie said, like we've all said, everyone had Forest as one of the favourites to go down this season. So at the end, I think they've had a really strong start to the season. This is the Premier League, okay? This is the Premier League. You can lose against anyone. The big game against Ipswich, I think that is a massive game for them. But if they win that game, where's that put them in the table?
6th, 5th, something like that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about it's this, it's that. They're having a fucking good season. They are. I'd take their season. I'd happily take their season. So I think it's more a case because Wolfie does his level best to give his opinion, and people don't like it. I think they love to see it when it goes wrong.
I'd like to be honest, like you. I like to be honest about what I see on the pitch, even if it's against my own team. You know what I mean? It's like cool what you see.
But that there, from what Lee said, that's what it's all about. Is we're having a chat about football, but it's not serious. It's not all. It's a bit of banter.
No one's going to be offering people out in a car park.
Yeah,
honestly, mate.
Charlie, you haven't watched me manage on a Sunday, mate.
Yeah.
I had that 2 weeks ago, so that's an off-air story.
But look, boys, we'll wrap it there. Absolute pleasure to have you on again, of course, with Daz and Chris. But Charlie, absolute pleasure. Make sure you go and follow and subscribe to the Blue Boys. All things Chelsea over there. Massive thanks to Wolfie, Forest Fans TV. Make sure you go and subscribe to them as well. And of course, United First. Go and watch Dan on TikTok. He puts his videos out about Man United. Go and give him a follow on there. And of course, on the 12th Man podcast as well, on the Race for Europe. Go and watch Dan and his opinions. And of course, Adam, great guest as always. Had to shoot early for personal reasons, but together BHA, go and give them a subscribe as well. Our panel will be back next week, where hopefully these bad boys will be out again.
Mark Gahey.
I think Pete, they're going to Pete. It's inevitable. They're going to be out next week because you're either going to be covering tears or you're going to be absolutely chilling. Yeah. So it's going to be one or two.
I did consider wearing them for that reason. This has been a therapy on Mark too, so I kind of feel okay going into this weekend.
I feel we had you three sat down on the seat for a little while. Me, Dan, and Charlie
it was nice.
Just went all therapeutic on you.
Good to talk.
It was good to talk, for sure. But look, people, make sure you give this a like on the way out, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And we'll be back next week to talk more.
Hey, can I just say as well? Shout out to Alan Thompson. Shout out, mate. Love having our conversations, mate. Shout out.
Alan's a
see you in the car park, Alan. This is how we finish that.
And that's a wrap.
Right.
That's a wrap, guys.
That's a wrap. We're back for away days tomorrow at 8. So tune in for that. Which one did I put? Wrong button.
Couldn't beat us, mate. Seriously.
No. But
we're sitting ahead of you right now in 9th and 12th.
Yeah, but do you honestly think you're going to finish in European football?
Yeah, I think we're in a title race right now. How'd you like that?
Well, I don't know. Well, it's not true though, is it? So.
How'd you like that? No, I don't care. We're third. We are literally in a title race right now. As things stand, we are more in a title race than you are.
In November.
We're a point behind you.
Yeah, so we're a point more towards the title than you are.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf?
Elanga?
Not me. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Not me.